So I just went to pull the clutch pedal by hand to see what would happen. Watch the tail shaft of the transmission. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Between the Sharks. Today we gotta get ourselves amped up. There is absolutely no glory in what we need to do today, but there's nobility because it must be done. Gang, if you're into this stuff for the glory, I hate to break it to you, there isn't any. Today we must fill in the holes that we have dug for ourselves, and there is no way to do it but to do it. This must be mounted. This must be modified to be mounted because it no longer lines up on the frame. It's like old Thomas Edison said, I never failed, I just found 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb. In our case, we found several places not to put a master cylinder or pedal assembly. But now, I have a place until I don't. And the only thing to do to move forward is to stick them to that place because it requires so much leverage to turn a car or to push a clutch diaphragm in that there's no point we can go further in a mock-up phase. We have to dive in, hope it works, and if it doesn't, well, we do it again. Let's dive into how we should approach any of these problems, because the reality is this is a pitfall in the middle of a minefield that is building a whole car, especially from what we'll call scratch. Scratch, remember, is nothing here was ever meant to go together. Thousands of people have done this before, but that doesn't make it easier for you or me. The information, the stepping stones, the maps they've laid out, sure, fine, it's kind of helpful. It doesn't get you any closer to you getting your project done because you still have to do it all yourself as well. So it's simple, right? We drill some holes all the way through the frame and we bolt it on. Or do we weld it? Or do we build a new bracket altogether? These little decisions can completely derail you and can take way too long. Executing any one of them isn't that big a deal. Like, if we welded this on, we'd be done in 20 minutes. If we bolt this on, we'll be done in like an hour because it'll be a pain in the butt. But if we don't make a decision, we'll be here all day and it will never get done. When I first got into this, I was eating up all the Discovery Channel shows that were, airing at the time. American Hot Rod, that type of thing. Trying to figure out how everybody did stuff, but obviously they skipped over all of this stuff because it's not glamorous. I've also noticed on YouTube, there are a bunch of great fabricators out there that have great channels about fabricating and use stuff like this as an opportunity to flex. If you watch enough of that stuff, you'll start to think that this project requires a 10-ton metal brake and a TIG welder, but it doesn't. But since we're not building a show car here, we're just building what needs to be a fun driver, and I'm not trying to impress anyone on the internet with my fabrication skills, we just need to approach this logically, like what's gonna get us to our ends the fastest and not box us into a corner as we move forward because, well, we're not fully mocked up on the whole car yet, so if you watch this channel enough, you'll know things change. You put stuff in your own way. It's gotta move, new things get priorities. And finally, this area under the car is like so low on my carometer about what it looks like. We are aiming for simple solutions done with quality craftsmanship, right? It doesn't have to be anything beyond that. Bolt or weld. So if we bolt it on and we boned it, we unbolt it and we move it. But bolting it will take significantly longer than welding it just because it's gonna be a pain in the butt. Welding it would be significantly faster. Personally, I don't think it would look any better because we didn't build this bracket. It is clearly made for bolt holes. And if we bone it, we unbolt it and move it. If we weld it on, boy howdy, we're just gonna have to booger everything up. And if I think a drill is hard to get in here right now, a grinder is gonna be worse later. Let's drill some holes, bite the bullet, and get moving. That's most important in a situation like this because you can waffle back and forth and then the solution that you know is best isn't fun. And one of the things that makes this tedious is you gotta undo everything that you just did to prove that it was in the right place in the first place. But, that's That's what it is, guys. That's what this whole thing is. There we go. Out you go, bud. Whew. We've just also proven that in this position, it's removable for service, which is pretty important. Not that I want to be removing it a lot, I just need to know that I'm able to. All right. Woo! All right, that hole took maybe 15 minutes to drill, between changing drill bits and batteries and all that other stuff. But I have a confession to make. I buy the cheapest drill bits known to man, and then I abuse the snot out of them. And every time I think, man, my shoulder's sore after a day of that, next time I should let the tool do the work. When I go to the store, I'm gonna buy a quality set of drill bits and I'm gonna take care of it. And then I get to the store and I look at the price and I go, whew, my shoulder feels way better. I think we'll work with what we got. I'm gonna spare you. We got 3 more sets of holes to drill. All right, we're back in business. This guy's bolted in. We need to get some matching hardware and all of the hardware to make it look a little less Mickey Mouse. We will need to notch this because I never put it in once we had the linkages. No big deal, just a little right there. But this presents a different problem. A problem you, sir, are certain to encounter. That's the problem, gang. Basically, we're in the world of pulling the transmission to drill some holes. Or alternatively, I guess we gotta buy a 90-degree drill. Have a little think on this and figure out how we're going to approach it. Because the idea is simple. All we need to do is drill some holes, build a little bracket, we're done. But it's never that simple in reality, because the mechanism to do so is more complicated than that. All right, I thought real hard on it, and I'm not even kidding. We're a half hour of stewing into our hard thinking. Let's put my eyeballs on it. And I realized that my spacer has migrated all the way to the end, and it would be better if it was down at this end because I do have this weld to contend with right here next to the pedal. So it'd be more better if the spacer that I made sleeved over the weld like I designed it to do, and then the pedal ran on a smooth nylon surface. In order to do that, the entire pedal assembly holder on or brackety thing needs to move in 1/2 inch inboard. So I thought, well, if I cut this down and lose a 1/2 inch here, then we can weld it directly to the frame. All of this stuff will still bolt on. It's a decent solution and it will take up, in a weird way, a little bit less of a footprint right over here, which, you know, it doesn't, our pedals will stay in the same place, but just this bracket will go that way, which may or may not help or hurt in the future. So in this case, there was no great silver bullet. You see, I realized there was no easy way to do it. There was no perfect way to do it. And so in getting into it one way or the other, we kind of had to assess what's the best way, right? Like, if we're gonna have to do all this work anyway, then maybe what's the best way? Gang, this is exactly what I was talking about when I started this episode. In the 1 hour long pedal assembly video, that's where you see all of the difficulties in finding out where it needs to be. We're actually taking in all of the parameters and trying to make it just right. Thread the needle, make it all fit, you know? And function the way that it needs to function. That is its own kind of challenge on a hot rod. This is simply me attempting to mount a bracket. And it's this chicken or the egg thing, right? I guess in theory, by the time we figured out where the pedals needed to go, we could start over and just build a custom bracket. But it's just one of those things where we need to hold the pedals in 3D space while we figure that out. This is when a guy starts to wander around and go get snacks and think tacos are a better idea than thinking about this any longer. All right, gang, we got her back lined up-ish, sort of, because everything we based our marks on is gone. It's not an unelegant solution, but it's not very flexible. So these aren't your average, like, kind of hold it in place so you can stare it down real good tacks. These are like, you know, we gotta hold this against the pedal moving the clutch, which is pretty serious business. Huh? All right, that only took me 3 episodes of Car Talk to get everything kind of welded in, put back together, and whatever else. And if you're not familiar with Car Talk, well, I recommend you get familiar with Car Talk, but at the end of Car Talk, they remind you, you've just wasted a perfectly good hour listening to Car Talk. So 3 hours getting this set up. I think that I've got it good enough, though, to actually try the clutch pedal. So I just went to pull the clutch pedal by hand to see what would happen. Watch the tail shaft of the transmission. Yeah, the whole thing is going that way because it's not mounted. But that's how much force there is on that clutch pedal. Hot rodding, man. Woo! Maybe this will be just another little mini episode. The funny thing about it is there's not a whole lot of progress that happened in this episode per se. However, it's probably in the neighborhood of 5 hours worth of work at this point. Just dialing everything in, choosing how to do it, cutting it, welding it. And really all we've accomplished effectively is mounting a master cylinder and a pedal assembly to brackets that already existed. We had to drill some holes, we had to modify some stuff, but it's, I don't know, always been a thing on this channel to try to show all of it. Successes, failures, the mundane stuff. I'm trying to keep it entertaining, but I also think it's really important for anybody building a hot rod for their first time or thinking about building one, like, this is kind of how it is when you're working and putting together pieces that never really went together because, well, you know, if you want to replace a brake master cylinder on this Cadillac, well, you buy one that was made for the Cadillac and then you bolt it to where it goes on the thing. That's how it is. So that's not how it is with something like this, though. This is a full custom build. Doesn't make me any kind of hero. It just makes this project bigger. So we are moving forward like a teenager learning to drive a stick shift, just lurching and then an abrupt stop. We need to pivot now and build a transmission mount. And I actually think, having mounted the master cylinder and the pedal assembly, I think we might actually be ready to do that or know what real estate we have available in order to do that. However, building that crossmember is an entirely different process. Do its own episode to figure out how and what and why and all of that stuff. So thanks for watching Between the Sharks. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider doing it. You guys keep watching and subscribing. I will keep trying to make all this stuff and sort of make it in digestible portions the best I can. I'm still trying to work that out. All right, gang. Good luck on your projects out there. We'll see you next time on Between the Sharks.